Hello everybody. My name is RODGON. I am an artist. I'm a designer. I'm a person that likes to teach you guys how to draw. And today I get to be your instructor. So hello, how are you guys doing today? Hope you guys are doing well. I have a fun little update for you guys, but I'll show it to you guys in a little bit. So, how are you guys doing? Yesterday, we decided to sit down and draw things from Pinterest. Things from Pinterest like faces, some different models, some poses, some illustrations that we just turn into different things. I taught you guys roughly how to use Pinterest and other reference sites to be able to use your things and create your own magical things from your mind, right? We also talked a little bit about posing and volume, and we watched a couple Disney songs and stuff like that, which led to drawings like Sebastian and Little Mermaid and some whales and some sharks and stuff. Earlier yesterday, we drew some pinups, and we just overall had some fun. Now, the most important part between yesterday and today was that my book got released. The new book, Raw Art. This one is out. So you guys can buy this one on my page. Links in my bio and stuff. So today's lesson is going to be an interesting one. Have you guys ever realized that if you want to learn to draw your upper body, you just need to learn how to draw a t-shirt? Have you ever thought about that? A t-shirt has every single part that you require for the anatomy of your upper body. It has the hole for your head. It has the holes for your arms. And it also has the connecting points to be able to use more anatomically correct things. So understanding how to draw a t-shirt, just a simple t-shirt, can help you understand the upper body a little bit more. And we're going to play around with this today. So hello, if you guys have never joined us for a lesson today, we normally spend about 1 hour drawing and teaching you guys something new, some other concept, some other form of being able to express yourself through your drawings. This will eventually lead to being able to draw things from memory, being able to draw things freely, and then not being subjected to having to draw things that you guys draw over and over and over and over again, because I don't like monotony. I don't like drawing the same things over and over. So, how do we get started with this? Well, let's take a look at a normal body, okay? A normal body is going to consist of an egg, some hip bones in the form of an arrow. You draw them as a little circle to give themselves some depth, and you can use that to be able to create your hips, your thighs, and your legs. So the lower body is relatively simple. It's just a little arrow. You draw some circles for the hips, and a teardrop for the thigh, and a straight line for the bottom part of the leg. By doing so, you can position them in any way you want, and then just add your muscle for your thigh and your calf connected to each other. By doing so, you have access to drawing your legs in any position you want. So that is one way that you guys can improve your art, by learning to draw an arrow, draw some circles, 2 teardrops coming from that circle, and adding legs. Doing so will facilitate your posing, and you guys will be able to draw better poses without much stretching. So this is a really easy way to be able to learn the lower body. That and some overlapping shapes will lead you to having very expressive feet positions. Okay, so that is the lower body. Now, if we move on to the upper body, you connect that little arrow to an egg. The egg is going to be the size of your rib cage. So if you draw a really big egg, you're going to have little hips. If you draw a little rib cage, you're going to have big hips. And that's going to give you 2 different body types. One of them is going to be more masculine, and the other one's going to be more feminine. One of them, with the shoulders added, you're going to have like a tier, like an hourglass shape, right? It's going to taper down. The other one is just going to go in like a straight line. What happens when you have a teardrop? Well, when you have a teardrop, or not like an hourglass shape, you end up with a waist. And that waist allows you the ability to draw hips. And once you have your hips, in order to just make these characters have wider hips, just make that arrow bigger. If you make the arrow bigger, you have wider hips. So if you want to do comically cartoony hip bones, you just have to make those circles a little bit bigger. A bigger circle in comparison to your rib cage will lead to a much curvier person. Okay? If you have wider hip bones, you end up with wider hips. It's just a natural occurrence. So now that we have an understanding of the lower body, let's move on to the upper body. The upper body, the arms flow from side to side over your rib cage. So if you eliminate your shoulders and your neck and everything, it's actually relatively easy to learn the flow of the body parts. It's just over the shape of a circle. If you get used to this, it's going to be a lot easier for you to pose your characters. Okay? Because it's not science. It's not rocket science. A lot of it is just understanding the flow of how things go along your body. And your arms just happen to go magically flowing from one side of your rib cage to the other side of your rib cage. And it's something that happens naturally. Okay? You have your shoulders and you have your neck and you have everything else that like obstructs that. But the actual core component of your arms is just knowing how to draw a line going over a circle. That is the whole concept of your arm. Learning how to do that in different positions tends to take a little bit of time, but it's not an incredibly difficult thing to do. Okay? Learning how to bend them is honestly going to be the easiest thing in the world if you just sit down for a split second and just do this. Okay? Draw a circle. Draw some arms coming out, like if it was just sticking out, taking into consideration the midpoint of your head. So the midpoint of that shape, this is going to be what splits your arms. So if you want to draw your arms up, they're going to go up from both sides. If you want to draw them down, they're going to go down. If you want to draw them across, you go to the edge of your body and then you go around. If you want to bring them back, you do the same thing. Okay, so understanding how to move your body is not really all that complicated. It's just something that we have to sit down and analyze little by little. If my arms are very easily drawn, like a little cone, how do I move that little cone around to get different body parts, different body positions from that one circle? Using the front and the back of it, mostly the back, because the back gives you the outside edge of your arm. You can go outside edge, inside volume. And by doing so, you are able to create a lot of storytelling in volume by just simply drawing two lines going around the circle. So that is something that you guys can do. Now that we have a little bit of people here, I'm going to give you guys a little preview of my book. So I just released this guy as an ebook, so you guys can buy it. It's a raw scan of my book, but I added a couple things. So what I did was I scanned the whole entirety of my book, right? And added a couple pages just to make it look a little bit prettier, tell you guys a little bit of why I do this sort of stuff. And then we went directly into the sketchbook. Let's see, hold on. So we can go in, and then you guys have all the individual pages. All of the pages. It's actually quite cool. So the book is about 100 pages long, and it's just completely raw, unedited version of my sketchbook. So you guys can go purchase that if you guys feel like you guys want to get a little bit of more of what we do on our streams, because a lot of those are lessons that we did on stream. So if you correlate the stream to whatever the page is, and you guys go back and listen to that stream, you guys can get a little bit more out of it. And that's going to be the concept for my book, for my How to Draw book too. I'm going to build a lot of reference videos that will have little QR stuff in them. So whenever you are drawing, let's say like you're in a little, let's say that you're drawing eyes and learning eyes, right? The eyes are spheres, so you'll be like shown how to draw an eye from by steps 2, 3. So 3 circles give you an eye. If you add a 4th one, you have a highlight. And then it's 2 lines once you get this. It's 1 line for the upper eyelid that goes around your shape, and then 1 line underneath that intersects that. And that creates an eyeball. So 1 dark line, 1 intersecting line, and then whatever design. See how easy it was? Circle, 1 line, 1 intersecting line, the up 1 overlaps. Cool. So I have access to drawing any eye that I feel like now, because I have access to knowing just how to overlap some lines. How crazy is that? Right? So if you didn't grab this from just seeing it normally, I would go in and I would add a little QR code, and then you guys could see how it's done manually. How somebody goes in and does this stuff with a little bit of an explanation. Okay, so that's going to be the whole concept of the book, like having a whole video series for it that are little tiny snippets of videos like, hey, how to draw a finger, draw the outside edge, draw 3 parts, and then the inside is curvy. Stuff like that. 1, 2, 3, curvy, curvy, curvy. 1, 2, 3, curvy, curvy, curvy. 1, 2, 3, curvy, curvy, curvy. And you can draw hands and fingers like that. So straight versus curved edges. It happens naturally throughout the whole body. You know, it happens in the arms, it happens in your fingers, it happens in every part of your body. So understanding those sort of concepts are also good, but those are normally tips and tricks that you don't want to rely on heavily. Why? Because you don't want to always think that your arm is going to be a straight and a curve. Okay? You don't always want to think that, because even though it looks nice, when it comes down to certain positions, that's just not the case. Okay? Sometimes the hand doesn't do that. But if you think that your hand always does certain things because of like rules that other people establish, then you're going to think that your drawings look bad. You're going to be like, oh, well, no, it's not doing what it says in the rule. So is it really like that, or is it not supposed to be like that? Like, I don't understand. So when you base everything on rules and you don't base it on visual components like, you know, construction and stuff like that, things become a little bit harder, right? Things like, I don't know, moving your elements around and stuff like that become an impossibility because you're not used to drawing things in different angles. You're used to drawing the same thing over and over. So changing positions will be a nightmare for you if you don't learn through construction. You'll be drawing the same thing a quadrillion times, and you will never end up with a very solid one, mostly because you're guessing. And a lot of guessing leads to very bad artwork. Most of the time when we don't have to guess, when we're not guessing, that's when we become a little bit more intuitive of how our drawings come out. And then our drawings just come out more natural because we're not overthinking everything. So it doesn't have to be overcomplicated to be able to be accurate. I don't have to draw every single muscle to be able to get this to have personality. I just need to know how the body parts connect so that I can actually move them around and do whatever the hell I want with the character. Later on, I can go in and add muscle or anything, but at this initial stage, I can just have fun playing around with proportions. I can play around with shapes. I can play around with props. I can do absolutely everything that I need to be able to settle this pose in space and then go in with detail depending on what I need. Plus, if you do this, you can make General Grievous real easy. And Shiva and stuff like that. Because it gives you access to being able to see where your body parts go. So let's do that again. Now we're going to have a rib cage. And from the front view, we're going to draw a compass at the top. That compass is going to guide our arm. That compass already gives us a line that's going over the top. So just continue that line and connect it back to the body. By doing so, you have that separation from your neck as well. Your arm is going to go down from these points. Okay? Down and normal equals the collarbone being the same. If you want that collarbone to go up, like you want your arm to go up, you need to make that compass go up so that you have access to drawing your arm up. Your compass going down is going to lead your arm going down. So if you need to cross over your arms, you sometimes need to go down to be a cross. If you need to do sexy body poses, you can just bend your arm. If you're doing things from the side, it gets a little bit trickier. It's that circle and the egg. Just make one compass a little bit bigger than the other. If you make one compass bigger or a little bit wider, you have access to that same knowledge really, really easy. Okay? It doesn't have to be overly complicated in order to be able to be successful. Actually understanding what you're drawing is much more important than actually learning how to draw every muscle fiber. Understanding where things connect and how you can move them around to be able to generate any pose in any situation you feel like is much more important than knowing how to draw every muscle fiber of every body part of everything. So when you're looking at anatomy and you're trying to learn anatomy, instead of trying to learn every single fiber of your body, just learn about the connecting points of your body. How your head connects, how your arms connect, how your hip bones connect. And if you learn that, it becomes a lot easier to be able to draw your characters. Because you're not guessing about volume, you're not going to be guessing about the size of things, you're not going to be guessing a lot of the things that you normally do. And it only takes going ahead and just drawing a simple shape like this and then following through to see where all these volume lines would come from. Okay? Seeing how much they overlap and stuff like that is just going to be a matter of preference. But being able to move them around shouldn't be overly complicated, because you have simple shapes that you are just modifying. And when you need to bend it, you just bend it. Because this type of shape is really easy. So overthinking it too much, like thinking of all the bumps and stuff like that in your arm, at first are going to be a nightmare. Okay? Don't start drawing all the little bumps until you have a cemented shape. Once you have the shape cemented, you can add all the volume that you want. Okay? Once you have your basic shape, you can go skinny or you can go with massive volume, mostly because you already have the connecting points needed. So you don't have to guess where things are going to go. Okay? You're so good. Oh, thank you. I take a lot of time drawing. I tried the bumps and volume instantly. See? You're going from step 1 to step 10. So instead of taking the time to understand what you're drawing, right? The bone first, and then learning that the muscle wraps around your bone. All that stuff comes in time. right? Understanding how two little volume lines like this can turn into an arm is very, very important. Overlapping lines are the key to being able to create cartoons and in general designs. So if you learn to overlap shapes like circles, right? If you learn to overlap these, then it becomes really easy to draw things like legs and feet and stuff like that in cool positions, because that's all they are. All they are is overlapping lines. And when you learn to control them, it becomes a lot easier to draw cool poses. Okay? Being able to draw things like fighting, anything like that, it's mostly gonna be overlapping lines and overlapping shapes. And if you learn how to do that, you can learn how to create all sorts of really cool, awesome poses that can lead to really, really awesome stories. So you don't have to overcomplicate it. That is the biggest thing that you guys should take off from today. Okay? If you are drawing your bodies and you have issues with proportions and stuff, take a step back. Take a very big step back and realize that you are most likely overthinking it due to style. You're overthinking it because you want it to look like somebody else's artwork. Or you're overthinking it and trying to make it appealing in a way that maybe you're not ready to apply yet. The way you explain and show it makes it a lot easier to understand and draw. Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that. So start off small. Start off with a little sphere and then learn to draw your body parts going around, and back inside. Okay? This bottom part is the hardest one. Going around, and then just change the size of them and stuff like that to be able to generate different views, different angles, different perspectives. If you make one really big and one really small, this gives you like a 3/4 backwards pose or front view pose. If you make them uneven, it's perfectly fine because it just gives you a different look. Okay? You can't mess up these are the sushis. So you can't mess up a sushi. You just can't mess it up. Okay? You can't. So you go around your hip bones and you can draw anything you want, and that's gonna look relatively close to a leg. And when you start adding different things like arms and stuff like that, that's when you start generating entire bodies. So the sushi is one of the most interesting master shapes that I like to draw. And when it comes down to the upper body, what I like to do is I just like to draw a little compass at the top of whatever shape I chose. And that gives me access to that sushi, but for the arms. Because if you draw it from a circle, you're gonna have your arms coming directly out of your rib cage. So this is step one, learning how that works, right? But then learning that there's a little bit of separation in the form of your collarbone from your rib cage. So that little separation is what allows the arm to have mobility. That little arm separation is what allows you to be able to crisscross your arms and stuff like that without any sort of bulging or sort of like cross contamination of sections here. And as you get better at bending these little shapes, you'll be able to draw any single pose you feel like. And as you learn more anatomy, you're going to be able to add more things and more and more and more and more without needing to go back and relearn a different way of drawing. So again, just because I can, I'm going to promote my book a little bit. So I just released an art book. So if you guys want to get it, this one's the last one that came out. So it's going to be the raw scan of my sketchbook, and you guys can take a quick glance. So many pages. So many pages. It's like over 100 pages. So you guys can go check that out if you guys feel like supporting. All right. So let's see. Let's try to draw something a little bit more complicated so you guys see that this is actually something you can use. Okay, so we're going to draw a nice simple circle. I'm going to draw some legs coming out from the side, some feet, and connecting it back to my body. I'm going to draw a little bit of an upper body, and I'm going to draw a little egg with some a compass for a collarbone. I'm going to draw my head based on this circle. This is going to be the size of my neck. The size of my neck tends to be the size of my head. So I'm not going to shift it very much. From here, I'm going to take this little sushi that we did, going around our shape, and I'm going to go around the shape on this guy. Okay, creating the outside edge of my arms. From there, I'm going to bring my arm in and connect it back to my body. There's going to be overlaps, and you're not always going to have those perfect connections. So you're not going to always have a nice fluid silhouette here. So that's perfectly fine. It's part of life. Now, from here, this is your collarbone. So I can just mark that as my collarbone, mark the middle of my rib cage, and I can connect my ears to the middle of my collarbone. That is going to give me access to drawing my neck. Then from here, I can divide this into 3. The middle part will be my eye sockets, my nose canal, and my ears. The bottom part is going to be my chin. So I can draw any sort of design I want with this. I'm going to take advantage and just draw myself. So now we go on to the body, and we can just start drawing things on this character as well. So my arms are going to be about half of the way down my arm. That's where my forearm is. So I can draw my t-shirts a little bit before that. This circle already gives me my t-shirt line, so I just have to draw that circle a little thicker. And then if I don't want a chubby body, this is where I decide to thin out the character or to make any sort of elements. Let's say I want to make myself a nice, big, strong character because I do have a nice physique. I'm not chubby or anything, so I want to create a little bit better physique. I'm going to draw the shape of my circle for my width right now to get my volume, and I'm just going to taper this down a little bit to whatever the size that I need. So it's like a belt, and I'm cinching that belt, and then all these things are still there. They're still connected. I just need to adjust the connecting point. The legs are a little bit short, so let's make the legs a little bit longer. Right now, it's still at a simple stage, so I'm not worried about like adding too much detail or muscles or anything. I'm just trying to get the shape to be exactly what I needed. And then from there, clothing is very simple. Clothing, you find the volume of your shape by drawing a circle that touches 2 edges, expand that, and then touch it to the edge. So by doing that, you generate volume really easy. By changing the direction of that circle and the drop shadow underneath, you can change the direction and perspective of that body part. Same thing happens with things like watches, wrists, and stuff like that. Okay? And when it comes down to drawing things like hands, it's about understanding the proportions of your wrist versus your palm, and understanding what is generating the width of it and what is going to generate any sort of bumps. So it's not really all that hard to generate the hands either. Is your website the only place you can get my book? Yes. Right now, my Stan store is the only store that you guys can get that book from. I haven't uploaded it to YouTube. I haven't uploaded it to Amazon yet. So once I upload it to Amazon, you guys can buy the printed version of it. And I'm going to try to get that done today before I start doing much of other things. I'm going to try my hardest to get that book completely formatted and ready for Amazon so they can start doing the whole vetoing process. Right now, it's only a digital book. Right now, it's only a ebook. The actual big book, the printed book, is going to be a 7 by 10 or 9 by 10, 8 by 10. So it's a relatively big book compared to the other ones. It's going to be about this size. It's going to be a little bit bigger than this, actually. So this is my hand. I have big hands. It's about the size of a highlighter. It's going to be about this big. It's a pretty big book. Will there be a recording of this stream? Yeah, I'll have this recording up on YouTube at some point too. I have some that I have to catch up on. I have to go back and upload some stuff. But let's recap a little bit because we are at the end of our page. And I believe this is going to be it for today's lesson. I think today's lesson was very straightforward. And I think that it's going to be very beneficial to a lot of you. If you want to learn to draw your limbs, you don't have to overcomplicate it. Your limbs go exactly like this. Okay, if you want to draw your legs, draw the volume for your body and then go around your body and go around the sides. You're going to be able to draw your feet and then connect them back to your body. This is what I call a sushi. A sushi takes into consideration your hip bones. So if you split it in half and half, this also gives you grid marks. You can draw those little circle connectors on the bottom part and be able to draw your legs like that as well. As long as you find these magical little circles, it doesn't matter how you approach it. You can draw an arrow going down and then generate those as well. You can do absolutely any sort of little trick that you need to be able to generate those angles. I like the circle because it's a natural thing. It gives you those little circles at the edges. And if you're able to do that, you have access to drawing legs. Now, this, if you just go up a little bit on the sides, you have an upper body. And the upper body has the same little trick, but you go over the top of it and into the sides. Or if you're going up, it's the same concept, just flipped. Sushi, sushi. This is the same thing that you just did for the lower body. Okay, so understanding how the sushi works and how that function allows you to draw simple characters incredibly dynamic is going to be a very, very, very good lesson for you going forward. If your purpose is to draw very dynamic characters, if your purpose is to draw very, 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 very cool perspective and overlapping lines, or just trying to do like kung fu movies and like kung fu poses and stuff like that. That's going to be really fun for you to be able to use these sort of techniques to be able to accomplish that. So with that being said, my friends, thank you so much for keeping me company. If you guys do feel like supporting, like I said, I do have a book out right now. So we just released this one. So you guys can feel to get the ebook. That helps me survive. That helps me live. So if you guys enjoy what I do, buying my books is going to be the best way to do that because I'm not selling courses or anything yet. I'll be doing some coursework at some point, but I want to make sure that it's actually worth it, right? I want to make sure that if you guys are going to have to pay for a course, it has to be a majestic, magnificent course, and it has to be over the top. So I wouldn't charge you guys for just another lesson like the stuff I do here. That's just not something I'm willing to do. This is what I give for free. If you guys are going to pay, you guys are going to get a shit ton more. So the book is about 100 pages. And it keeps going and going and going and going and going. So if you guys feel like supporting, go buy that book. And let me give you guys a couple minutes of lessons that you guys learn. You see me being drawn all the time. And my curly mustache is not as curly right now, but it's getting there. I haven't slept at all. So I spent all day putting together that book. I stayed up all night trying to get it done because I promised you guys it would get done today. So I don't know what that was. That's weird. If you guys like what I do, just go subscribe to the YouTube channel. All the videos are there. Most of the good ones are there. There's like 500 now. There's like 500 videos. Lessons, tutorials, live streams, all that stuff. And then there's like 5,000 on Instagram. So if you guys don't follow me on Instagram, if you guys want to learn, that is one of the best ways to do it. You guys can go just click on random shit, learn a random thing here and there, and eventually all that stacks up and you guys will eventually be able to draw even better than I get. Yeah? Like, if you guys enjoy what I do, you know, that's the cover for the book and stuff like that. That was all drawn by hand. None of that was digital. None of that was, like, done. Everything is what you guys asked for. You guys asked for a raw sketchbook, so I give you guys a raw sketchbook. And I hope you guys like it. So I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys tomorrow for another lesson. And until then, you guys take care. You guys be awesome. Start your projects. I know you're lacking. I know. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't wait another week. Okay, let me put it really simple for you guys, okay? Every day that you guys delay your greatness, because that's what you're doing. You're delaying your greatness. Every day that you delay being great, it's another day that you get to live without it. So you guys take your time. You guys, you know, be patient. Do good by you guys. But remember that every day that you don't do it, that is an extra day that you don't get to live with that accolade. You don't get to live with people telling you you're awesome because of it. Okay? So take a time. Do something good for you. Start that project. You know you can finish it soon. It's just a matter of motivation. So you guys take care. Love you all. And I'll see you guys in the next video.